Joe Cortez here with the Fair but Firm Show. Today we have a very special guest, International Boxing Hall of Fame journalist, one of the greatest I've ever met in my life, one of the most knowledgeable. To me, he's a walking Bible of boxing, Jerry Izenberg.
Well, good to be here, and thanks for the compliment.
Now, you are one of my favorites, and definitely go down history as the greatest of all time as far as I'm concerned. Jerry, boxing today is on the rise again. As you know, well know, next month we have Canelo Alvarez fighting Triple G Gennady Golovkin here at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. What's your take on this fight?
Well, again, this is a fight that really, if you're a fight fan, and there are very few of you left, needs no hype. I mean, you know what it is. But the stuff that's been happening about the tainted beef he ate, and the argument between Abel, who is
Abel Sanchez,
who is Triple G's trainer, and the two Reynoso brothers. It's real. Both fighters don't have no respect for each other. I sat with Triple G for about an hour and a half, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month, and he said, "We are two different people." And then he said, "I am a champion, he is a liar." And he said it with no emotion, but with that low-keyed voice where you know somebody means what they're saying. On the other hand, there are no idle threats coming from Canelo, but he knows he's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. How good we're going to find out, because he knows he cannot fight the way he fought last time. They called it a draw. One of the judges now, I believe, is in boxing's witness protection program, because it's one of the two worst scorecards I ever saw in my entire life. And so it was a gift. I mean, Triple G won that fight. But you look at these two fighters and you say, okay, let's start with Canelo. Canelo has had a great habit and won many fights fighting off the ropes, which is hard to do, but if you're a master at it, and you have the power to do it, that's, God bless you. Well, the first time he went to the ropes in the first fight, he'd been hit by Triple G, and I thought he was hurt. Not really badly hurt, but he knew he had been hit. And I felt he went more to the ropes after that for safety rather than strategy. He's got to fight. You got to remember something. They stole a decision from Triple G, and that's what happened. It was stolen. In fact, if you don't think it was, forget the woman who scored it 118 to 112. What about the judge that called it a draw, and he took the 7th round of the fight and gave it to Canelo, and it was by far Triple G's best round of the entire fight. So I won't say they consciously stole it. Hey, Mexican Independence Day, 18,000 Mexicans screaming and hollering, and that influences judges sometimes too.
Yeah, well, you know, in boxing sometimes the fans can be a main factor in the fight. I mean, they can help root out the local boy, but then, like you said, sometimes the judges score what they hear, not what they see. And I think that this fight is going to be a very important fight. You talked about Canelo changing his plan of action. They have to go back to the drawing board. They cannot fight the same way they fought last time. Well, this time you're going to be using angles.
Yeah.
You'll be using a lot of angles, staying off the ropes, and just try to be a little quicker and work off the jab.
I agree with that. But one thing, I covered my first fight in 1951. I missed Cain and Abel because some camel died on the highway. I didn't get there in time. But so I've seen a few fights. I will tell you this, it's been my reaction, or my opinion. A fighter gets hit, he becomes who he is. Now, let me explain that. He goes back to the corner and goes, look, if you don't start moving to your left, you're not going to win this fight. Because you got to move away from his left hand. That's what you got to do. You got to move away, go with his right, his left hand's got the hook, you got to move the other way. And if I say, I got you, bell rings, he moves to his left, he gets hit, he's moving to his right. So this fight will also be determined by who can maintain the purpose and the plan once he has to become himself.
Exactly. They always say you have a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
That's absolutely it.
You know?
And I do believe, though, they both have mountains to climb. For Canelo, it is redemption. no question about it. And for Canelo, he's got to solve this guy. Who is solvable? Just remember, in boxing, no matter who you are, there's somebody out there for you. No matter who it is. George Foreman once told me, I could fight Joe Frazier 100 times, I'd knock him out 100 times. I could fight Ali 100 times, he'd knock me out 99 times and win a decision 100 times. But when those two guys fight, then it's life and death, because the styles make the fight. But we don't know what Canelo's style will be at this fight. They're trying to goad him into, and they're not going to goad him into anything. He's too professional and too smart a guy to be goaded into it. And they're saying, you know, if he fights, I'll knock him out. If he fights, the fans will be happy. If he fights, he's going to fight. The question is, how is he going to fight?
Yeah.
He's got to change his style. Now, there's one other element in this thing. If this fight remains close, I would not be surprised if that benefit of the doubt swung to Triple G, because he's the guy that got shafted in that same arena last time. So there's so many factors here. The best thing both guys can do is say, I'm not planning on a judge. I'm not planning on the crowd. I'm going to knock this guy out. Both of them are capable of it. Both of them can do it. And if that's the plan that emerges from all of this, it's going to be one hell of a fight.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And the only difference I say is that Canelo Alvarez has always been fighting a welterweight and super welterweight 154. He's never been a full-fledged middleweight.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And Triple G has been a full-fledged middleweight for most of his career. The other thing he's got going against him is his age. 37, 38 years of age.
Triple G's age.
Yeah, Triple G. And what happens is your legs start to go on you at a certain time in your life. And in boxing, you get old overnight. They say, oh my God, what happened? He was so great before, but what happened in this fight? And this is what Canelo people are hoping that will be in their favor, but they have to use the angles. They got to use angles and speed, bob and weave a lot. You can't stay too stationary, but he got to keep his back off the ropes.
But it can't happen by accident.
Right.
It can't, they can't, you know, these guys are prone, because they're fighters and because they're human, they're prone to make mistakes. Fighters do make mistakes. But neither fighter can count on winning this fight because the other guy made a mistake. It's not like when Duran, all he had to do against the Mexican was let the round go by, he'd come out, he'd knock him out the next round, but he tried to close the show, hung a jab, bang, it took him 3 minutes to wake up. This is the same thing here. That kind of mistake I don't think will happen with these two guys. But I think one guy will force the issue, and I tell you, both guys have the skills. They have the skills, they have the trainers, and they will have the emotion in the crowd. Now, I may have said before, Triple G said to me, we are two different people, he and I. I am a champion, he is a liar. And he meant it, low, controlled voice. Canelo has had a few things to say on his own. But it's not done, I don't believe, to bait the other guy. I believe these two fighters really feel that way. There is no affection between these two guys. I think the most exciting thing that'll happen is, are they going to touch gloves at the start of the fight?
Well, we'll see. One thing I can tell you is that there's always got to be plan B. And let's see what happens September 15 here in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Joe Cortez and Jerry Izenberg with fair but firm. Okay. Guys, keep your guards up at all times.
I'm fair but fat.
I'm fair but firm. Touch them up. I love you, brother.